Hello, everybody. This is San Random Neko, waking up from my nap to greet the world for the day. And by greet, I mean rid myself of seasonal depression by replacing it with actual depression as I go through the 5 stages of grief yet again, before landing firmly back in denial because the anime and manga I'll be reviewing for this video is one that's truly brutal for the heart, Bananafish. But before I begin, I'd like to give a warning. Bananafish contains many sensitive and mature topics involving mental illness, crimes committed against minors, and SA that can trigger those who've experienced such traumas or make the average viewer very uncomfortable. So if you're still interested in reading the manga or watching the anime, please proceed with caution. Ash Lynx was a runaway kid picked up from the streets of New York City and raised by the infamous mafia godfather Dino Golzine. Now at 17 years old, he's the boss of his own gang and plans to tear down Golzine's criminal empire as revenge for the hell he'd been put through. Meanwhile, Okamura Eiji travels to the city from Japan as a photographer's assistant who's working on a report about the gangs in New York. By chance, Ash and Eiji meet and find themselves drawn to each other. But the underground of New York has recently been plagued by a series of mysterious deaths that are only connected by the words Bananafish. With personal stakes in this dangerous war, Ash, Eiji, and their allies race to uncover the truth of Bananafish and destroy it before the world as they know it descends into chaos. The story of Bananafish is brilliant, emotional, and complex. Its focus is divided into 2, with one part focused on uncovering the mystery of Bananafish while taking down a criminal empire, and the other focused on the bond formed between 2 people from vastly different worlds. While each part is strong individually, together they form the beautifully complex story of Bananafish. In addition, the story easily establishes the unjust world it's set in and plainly presents the atrocities committed, never shying away from the effects it has on characters both physically and mentally. But the story isn't completely dark, as there are plenty of lighthearted moments that make the contrast between Ash and Eiji's respective worlds stand out even more. And despite the hopeful approach the story takes, it's still a story full of what-ifs and if-onlys that make it beautifully tragic. Because it was always going to go in one of 2 ways, and the constant foreshadowing of Ash's fate and the part Eiji plays in it makes it clear which way it'll be despite everyone desperately hoping otherwise. And unlike Oshinoko, which made its audience angry with the way it handled that decision, Bananafish has you go through the 5 stages of grief as you mourn what could have been if only the world had just been a little kinder. However, the way the story plays out really only worked because of the characters who are as complex as the story. From our deuterogonists, Ash and Eiji, to their allies, Shorter, Sing, Max, Ibe, and the policeman, and the opposition, Yutlong and Blanca, there was always more to uncover beneath the exterior that was presented. Even the evil and morally bankrupt characters, such as Golzine and Fox, were more complex than you'd first believe. The best part of the story, though, is the bond between Ash and Eiji. Ash is a victim of circumstance and of adults and a system that failed to protect him, who's forced to do whatever he must in order to survive. Eiji is an innocent who doesn't understand the dangers of the underworld, but also doesn't shy away from it. He's the only one who sees Ash for the deeply hurt human he is, and not the beautiful monster everyone believes him to be. He wants to give Ash a future where he no longer needs to hold a gun, and Ash wants to protect him because Eiji gave him something more valuable than money and power, without expecting anything in return. The bond between them manages to transcend simple words like love, and can be best described as soulmates. And I love how their bond is given even more depth and complexity through Yutlong and Blanca, with Yutlong representing the path Ash could have traveled down if he never met Eiji, and Blanca representing his future if he ever lost him. And while their relationship is never clearly defined as romantic or platonic, the ambiguity is what makes it both beautiful and tragic, with the peacefulness of the now and the grief of what could have been. In addition, the bond between Ash and Eiji, as well as the journey of Ash Lynx, is tied with the themes of grief, loss of innocence, regret, isolation, and more that are explored throughout the story through 3 works of literature. The first is A Perfect Day for Bananafish by J.D. Salinger, which is used to describe the Bananafish Ash and his allies investigate, while also relating to Ash himself. The second is The Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway, or more specifically, the inspiration for it, which was the leopard found on the mountain which Ash compares himself to, wondering if he's just wandering aimlessly until he finally dies like the leopard. Though AG counters this by insisting that Ash is not a leopard, but a human who has the power to change his own fate. And the third is Islands in the Stream, also by Ernest Hemingway, which represents the profound change in Ash after meeting AG, as he'd been isolated in his struggle to find meaning until AG appeared, and gave him the desire to want to live, and finally imagine a future for himself even if he knew it would probably never come true. In regards to production, the anime has great animation that's smooth and clean, sometimes a little too smooth and clean given the content and setting of the story. But that smoothness works for the action, which was great to see in motion, and had the right amount of urgency and tension those scenes required. On the other hand, the manga is gritty and stylistic, which was much more appropriate for the story. The character designs for the anime and manga are both different, with the manga's drawing style evolving over time, and the anime looking as if it combined the manga's different styles together to create something similar but new. Both are great, though I personally prefer the anime for the character designs and the manga for the setting. The anime also had great voice acting that added another layer to the story that pages and ink can't convey alone, though it would have been nice to have an English dub to better show the language barrier that's present in the manga. But it's fine because not having an English dub will always be better than the AI slop Amazon gave us before it was removed due to well-deserved backlash. The soundtrack also enhanced the story, and the openings and endings were brilliant. Found and Lost, and Red by Survive Said the Prophet, Freedom by Blue and Count, and Prayer X by King Nu were amazing, with lyrics that perfectly matched the story and accompanying visuals that made it feel like you were being punched in the gut every time. And yet I still keep listening anyways despite the emotional damage it gives me because the songs are just that good. Now normally I'd start talking about the criticisms I have, but I don't really have any because Bananafish was just that brilliant of a story. The only critiques I can muster are due to the different mediums in which the story is told, which both have their pros and cons, so I'll just talk about that instead. The anime and manga are set in two very different time periods. The 2010s for the anime, and the 1980s for the manga, which noticeably affects the tone and setting and has discrepancies that become apparent during certain moments of the story. While the anime still does a good job with the changes made, the 1980s better suits the dark story and gritty setting of underworld New York. However, the anime gives important scenes more emotional impact as it's able to place greater emphasis on it, like with AG's pole vaulting moment and how it affected Ash. It's also able to better show the mental effects of trauma, PTSD, and drug use than the manga by offering the perspective of the character undergoing mental turmoil. In contrast, the manga gives the story more weight, really making you feel the whole range of emotions when it comes to the sensitive topics that the anime sometimes glosses over, but that can be attributed to the fact that the anime is much shorter than the manga. Sure, it was able to translate most of it, but there are a lot of details cut out and changes made in order to fit everything into 24 episodes. Like in the anime, Nadia, Shorter's sister, is barely there, while in the manga, she has more of a presence and a whole relationship with Charlie. Thus, the anime is faster paced with a not quite consistent story flow, while the manga is able to take its time and build everything up, but can get a bit bloated with dialogue. And finally, the ending hit much harder in the anime, but the manga offers you true closure with Garden of Light. Overall, Bananafish gets the coveted S rank. The manga obviously tells the story better as it has more time to curate all the details and fully develop the characters and plot. But while the anime has some pacing issues due to time constraints, it does have better character designs and is able to boost the emotional impact of the story. Though regardless of medium, the story is amazing with layers and complexities that add depth and emotion. It handles sensitive subject matter really well without relying on shock factor or fetishizing anything, though it will make you uncomfortable because of how straightforward and matter-of-fact it's presented. The characters are all complex, even the bad guys, and the relationship between Ash and Eiji is what makes the story both beautiful and tragic, with an ambiguity that further compounds the peacefulness of now and the grief of what if and if only. The production is great overall, though the anime and manga have things they each do better than the other. And the soundtrack is amazing, with the openings and endings suiting the story really well, and making it hard not to get emotional whenever you listen to it, especially with the accompanying visuals. Now, as for whether you should start with the anime or manga, if you want more emotional impact, watch the anime. If you want a more fleshed out story and better developed characters, read the manga. But I would recommend watching the anime first, and then reading the manga to fill in the cracks and provide closure with Garden of Light, a manga-only epilogue that I wish was made into an OVA, so anime-only watchers can understand manga readers' pain and get closure as well once they get past their denial. Either way, anime or manga, I highly recommend you experience the once-in-a-lifetime story of Bananafish, as it will leave a lasting impact on your soul and stay with you forever for better and worse. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Reminder that this is just my opinion, so you can take it with as many grains of salt as you want. I don't mind either way, and would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment which anime you'd like me to give my 2 cents about next. This is some random Neko, settling back into denial as I read Bananafish fanfiction where everything is beautiful and nothing hurts. Don't forget to keep calm and just meow.